We have a free agency update.
We have the Patriot Way.
An NBA All-Star recap.
Right here on Sports Cubed. Welcome back into Sports Cube, Season 2, Episode 7. As always, I'm Kyler Gammon.
I'm Branton Beard.
And I'm Eli Grimes.
We're just going to dive right into NFL free agency, fellas. I mean, the new league year has officially started. Offseason has officially started. So let's just jump right into it. And there's one team in particular that has probably not. I mean, has more than likely, by all accounts, dominated, and it's not even close. Maybe the Texans as far as moves-wise, but there's one team in particular that has dominated this whole free agency, and that is none other than the New England Patriots. Ooh. The Patriot Way is what they say. And they have signed Mr. Cam Newton re-signing back, former Eagle and Raider Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, wide receiver, the two hottest tight ends on the market, no problem, Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, offensive tackle Trent Brown, center Ted Karras, defensive end, I'm probably going to botch his first name, Dietrich Wise Jr., defensive tackle Devon Gacho, defensive line Henry Anderson, and linebacker Matt Judon.
You're missing somebody else there.
Don't
forget to mention
Branton, we did not have to go there. This was unfortunate out of my sheet.
Bring it up.
And this one hurts. And safety.
Jalen hurts.
You did not have to do that.
I did.
And safety, Jalen Mills. Very tough. Well, all three of our teams, in one way or another, has faced. It's been rough for all three of our teams.
It really has been.
I mean, not even close. It's been awful for all three of our teams this free agency. The Eagles haven't done anything. The Steelers have just.
We lost everybody.
Literally.
And bring back backups. That's what we did.
And the Bears.
Chicago, we had this great quarterback plan, you know. We got so much excitement. Russell Wilson, you know. Andy Dalton. The Red Rifle. We signed 1 year, $10 million deal. What? The Red Rifle. But can we really be surprised by what New England's doing? Like,
it's Bill Belichick.
Bill Belichick with one of the highest cap spaces in the league. Yeah, give him a losing season, and this is what he does.
I mean, really, Bill Belichick really took that losing season to heart.
He did. He took it to heart.
He said, "I ain't playing no more." And you know what's funny is I was listening to the Pat McAfee show, and he had brought on Michael Lombardi, and so Michael Lombardi does have ties with the New England Patriots, so to speak, and he said back in whenever Bill Belichick left the
Browns?
Yeah, the Browns, excuse me. He said that Bill Belichick wrote him on this piece of paper his game plan. And Bill Belichick's whole game plan and of how he coaches is that he's going to beat you up the middle. Which makes sense of the two tight end set. I mean, He loves having the two tight end set. And, obviously, and I really hate bringing this up, but the first thing that comes to mind is whenever you had Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez, at the two tight end sets, and they're both really good, obviously. And so, and that's why I think that Rob Gronkowski has been so good, is that he started out his career in New England. He has built himself up to the player that he is, especially with Tom Brady. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, and we've talked about it this past week. It's been so frustrating watching the Patriots just dominate it, and there's nothing that nobody can do about it.
I mean, you look at their contracts. They signed Jonnu Smith to a 4-year, $50 million, and they signed Matt Judon to a 4-year, $56 million. I'd love to have a tenth of that $100 million. We could have signed 3 players with that. I mean, you could have signed. It's ridiculous the amount of money that they have.
Pretty sure these are 2 of the top 5 highest paid tight ends in the league now.
They are.
On the same team.
Well, Hunter Henry is only at $37.5 million. But it's still.
Yeah, that's still a lot of money.
And you're talking about 2 tight end sets, but really more about that. You have to look at Cam Newton and the aspect of what he's going to bring if he's going to be able to throw the ball to them. When he was in Carolina, Cam Newton focused on his receivers, and he focused on Greg Olsen. Greg Olsen has had a Hall of Fame career and is now retired with the Panthers, but still, is he going to be able to throw the ball enough to both the tight ends who are now heavy, who need a lot of targets?
I mean, I think, personally, I think he will. I think that he's kind of taking it as, I mean, I'll give Cam the benefit of the doubt, and I really think that he gets a lot of hate in the league. I really do, especially the fact that, he has been to a Super Bowl, which a lot of quarterbacks haven't in the league. So, I really think that he didn't have anybody.
I totally agree.
I mean, he had nobody in New England
Rex
last year.
Burkhead?
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
James
White, yeah.
I mean, but, and that's running backs we're talking about. I mean, the only receiver that I know of that comes to mind for the Patriots is Jacoby Myers and N'Keal Harry, and they were not productive at all. And I can't even tell you who their tight end was, and I know it was really some no-name guy.
Yeah, and this year it's all on Cam. He has the weapons. He has Belichick. Of course, the running back situation may not be great. Of course, Belichick likes to run it up the middle because James White is gone in free agency, and Sony Michel's our leading back. So they may pick up Sony in the draft. That's yet to see. But it's all on Cam.
And with running backs, I would not be shocked. Especially with the money that they have, is that, I heard Leonard Fournette's name out there, Chris Carson's out there. I would not be shocked if they were just going to be like, you know what, we're just going to get the complete package. Let's just sign a running back.
And they still got money left to spend. It's ridiculous.
It's unbelievable. And with COVID, I mean, it makes the salary cap even more unique than years before as well. I'm going to go to the still in free agency. I'm going to go to the Houston Texans here, because if you look at their and I was kind of scrolling through this. By the way, we have, according to as of today. By the way, speaking of which, as of today, AJ Green actually just signed with the Arizona Cardinals.
Well,
Former Bengal.
he's in the work of signing a one-year deal with the Arizona Cardinals, giving Kyler Murray another target, which was needed. I couldn't tell you who the number 2 receiver, other than Larry Fitz, but who the real number 2 receiver is. Isabella, Larry Fitzgerald.
Isabella, that's what I was thinking
But really, AJ Green will be a great target for him, and he was not productive with Joe Burrow, so he did need to go to a different team there.
And I really think that there really was no need to, and really, I mean, I'm really curious here as I'm trying to flip through this book that we have in front of us, but I'm really curious to see what he is going to do in Arizona. I mean, the fact that I'm actually really excited, and because he was so good in Cincinnati for
many years, about 13 years.
Yes, I mean, and so I just want to see if he has something left in the tank. Plus, I mean, they have a veteran presence with Larry Fitz, obviously, and AJ Green. I mean, I think you can only get better, right? I mean,
yeah.
And actually, just scrolling through this here, there's actually 2 teams in the AFC South here that's been really interesting. And I'll start with the first one. The Houston Texans. Start off right off the bat. QB Tyrod Taylor, 1-year deal. Interesting with Deshaun Watson. Yep. And the Deshaun Watson hysteria comes up again.
Oh, yeah.
And also Deshaun Watson has been reported of a sexual, I think it's a sexual investigation case. Oh, here we go again. And we'll see what happens. I mean, do the Texans move on now? I mean, they've said before that they don't want to trade him. With this coming up, do they move on and take this as a serious note?
I think you need to move on now before more allegations come up and the stock in Deshaun Watson goes way down.
But looking at the Texans, I mean, really, I think their 2 big splash signings are, as far as signings goes, I think it might go to Mark Ingram probably has to be up there, in my opinion, and then I'd say give me Tyrod. I mean, Tyrod just, it sparks the whole conversation up again, brings some controversy, so to speak. It's really interesting.
Let's hope Houston has a better trainer.
Oh, yeah.
One can only hope, correct?
Or Tyrod Taylor.
And, and they have made some trades, too. I mean, Shaq Lawson, he was acquired in a trade from the Dolphins for, Benerick McKinney. I probably just butchered that first name, but, I mean, he was a well-known linebacker for the Texans. So, very, very interesting, very interesting. But another team here that I think that has kind of been under the radar, I think a tad bit, is the Jaguars.
Urban Meyer's building his team out there.
And that's what he needs to do. I mean, first-year head coach, get yourself some good pieces. Eventually, I think, for Mr. Trevor Lawrence going number 1. But
starting out here, you got Carlos Hyde, former Ohio State running back, so he knows Nick Saban, he knows his system. He will be a great addition along with James Robinson.
Urban Meyer. You said Nick Saban, but
I didn't say Nick Saban.
You're
Urban
fine.
Meyer.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. But I think the 2 biggest I think the two interesting here is Shaquille Griffin goes from the Seahawks surprisingly, and he goes from the Seahawks to the Jags, and then also to Marvin Jones. I mean, Marvin Jones is I think a solid receiver for, I'd say, Trevor Lawrence in the future. I mean this what it looks like to me, that they're just building pieces for Trevor Lawrence, and Trevor Lawrence isn't there yet. So, and obviously you're
and they've built a great line around him as well. They added Cam Robinson, they added Tyler Shanty, they added who else did they add? I can't even think of his name. Durant Gray. Durant Gray they added during the season. So they're giving him these pieces on the offensive line to help protect him, because you want to protect that young quarterback, which the Bengals did fail to do with Joe Burrow.
And that was my fault. I thought you were talking about the D-line. But going to the D-line, they obviously signed
Tyson Lulu. Come on. 2 years, $6 million. There's no way the Steelers could afford that. Huge run stopper. He ranked above Aaron Donald almost all the way through the season in terms of PPR grade.
Ooh, hear that, Drew?
How do you give him up? He's 33 years old, coming off the best year of his career, and they let him walk. And
by the way, kind of going back to the Texans here, and this is on my other sheet, and how could I forget this, is and I think this is going along with this right here, is that they signed, going back to the Texans here, they signed Chidobe Awuzie, former Cowboys cornerback, and Mike Hilton, right? Yeah. Correct?
Bengals signed Mike.
Or no, that's my fault. I have a sheet mixed up somewhere. Well, just disregard that. I just butchered that. My bad. My sheets are all out of whack, and this was a whole book that we had printed out. So yeah, and we will get to them probably here a little bit later. But man, for me, I just want the Eagles to do something. Just do something.
There's still plenty of people left on the board. If we're taking a look here at top available free agents, as of today's Wednesday, of course, we're filming this. As of right now, the number one free agent left available, undoubtedly, is Kenny Golladay. You see him right there on the right, number 19, Kenny Golladay. Along with that, you have former Texas receiver Will Fuller, along with Juju Smith-Schuster, who I hope and pray stays in Pittsburgh. Please, Juju, come back. I miss you. Curtis Samuel and Jadeveon Clowney, of course. Jadeveon Clowney hasn't had that all-pro year that he's had with the Texans a long time ago. But there's still plenty of other free agents available, too. You have Melvin Ingram. You have Alejandro Villanueva on the offensive line. You have Patrick Peterson from the Cardinals. He's still roaming out there. Great corner addition. You have, of course, Will Fuller. And there's still plenty of names out there for people to sign, especially in running backs. There's a lot of running backs left on the board.
Exactly, and really, I mean, it's really interesting that you say this, because it's like the running back market. I mean, the last time that I can think of the running back market really being the headline was probably Le'Veon.
Yeah.
It was probably Le'Veon.
And Todd Gurley that year.
Yes, and so that was really the epitome, I think, of the running backs. But usually, you don't see running backs just being the headline. Whenever there's great running backs out there, like Fournette was really good in Tampa Bay. I mean, you
got Fournette, you got James Conner, you got Le'Veon Bell's a free agent again. You got
Chris Carson.
Aaron Jones was a free agent before re-signing with the Panthers, and of course his backup signed with the Detroit Lions last night. But there's still so many good available pieces in the running back core that teams can add.
Not only are there a lot of free agents out there, but this is an extremely talented draft class too.
Correct. Yeah.
You got Trey Sermon. Najee Harris, Travis Etienne from Clemson. There's so much talent out there. So it begs a really great question. Are teams going to take a chance on rookies this year, or are they just going to re-sign proven veterans?
And it's really interesting because usually, I mean, at least back in the day, running backs were like kind of running backs and receivers. Actually, running backs, receivers, and quarterbacks back then were kind of the superstars. The highlight. I mean, you look at the Barry Sanders, Walter Payton. I mean, I put Bo Jackson in that category. And it's really interesting because back then I think that those guys get paid top dollar. I think back then running backs get paid top dollar. But now it's kind of like evolved to where it's and this goes great of what I want to talk about next year. O linemen. O linemen getting paid big as
crazy
as Trent Williams just did last night. Actually, it was last night. So he was signed to the 49ers to a 6-year, $138.06 million
highest contract of any offensive lineman in NFL history.
Deserving.
Well deserved. From being traded from the Washington Redskins at the time, now Washington football team, onto the 49ers, has been a stud at offensive tackle.
I think it was kind of it reminds me of, just a situation where he just wanted to be there, and he needed a fresh start. Reminds me of Carson Wentz, and really just flourished, and he's been great and solid for that 49ers O-line, which they desperately needed a man like that, and a lot of hype too around this other player, which I mean I don't get it, but I mean I guess he's a big name in the 49ers community. Is Kyle Yuscheck? He was signed to a 5-year contract worth $27 million, a fullback.
Yeah. And they used him as much more than a fullback, especially on the Super Bowl run. He got the first touchdown in that Super Bowl. And really, he is a love. They call him Juice there in San Francisco. He is a huge part of their offense, and they will need him coming up this next year. And you were talking about Carson Wentz. Those trades, Carson Wentz, Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, are officially named to their rosters. So Jared Goff is now a Ram. Carson Wentz is now a Colt. And Jared Goff is a Lion. And Matthew Stafford is a Ram.
And it's really interesting. I was looking today, and it was really cool how he did this because basically it's like a long story, but so to speak, to get to the headline, Carson Wentz I think is going to wear number 2.
Number 2?
Number 2 this year.
Oh, so he's going to try to compete with Jalen Hurts.
So I was thinking like Jalen Hurts, 1 + 1 = 2. I mean, well, I'm curious to see why.
He's mad.
I'm curious. I'm curious to see why he picked number 2. But a super fan of Carson Wentz. He actually is an Eagles fan. He's a younger kid. It was really cool because the Colts actually sent him a custom Colts. Even though he's an Eagles fan, but he's a big Carson Wentz fan as well. So the Colts actually sent him a custom jersey with a new number on it. So classy, and the fact that that was the first time that Carson's announced his new number. Man, that just shows who Carson Wentz is as a guy and as an individual. But going to another team here. How about the New Orleans Saints, man?
They
really interesting.
Get rid of a lot of pieces.
Obviously, Drew Brees officially retired this week. Hate to see it. Did not want it to happen, but we knew it was going to happen eventually.
But you saw what they did, though. They're still going to do quarterback by committee. Mm-hmm. The fact that you have to play quarterback by committee it begs the question: how do those quarterbacks feel about it? Especially with the contract that Taysom Hill got in comparison to the one that James Winston got. They drastically different.
Really interesting because last year I experienced a 2-quarterback committee, and that did not work out as well.
As did I.
And I think it was just a unique situation with Drew there. Obviously, Drew has been the guy there for many, 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 many years, and so it's easy for Taysom Hill to be thrown in there. But it's like these two guys aren't solidified as the guy. You know what I mean? So it's really interesting. Really, really interesting. Sticking in the NFC South, we'll go with the Bucs here. The Bucs, whatever they said that they were going to do, they did it. And it's really awesome to see. I mean, and it's going to be really interesting to see what happens next year. I believe that Tom is coming back officially, right?
Right. Yes.
So Gronk came back. Shaq Barrett came back, their defensive end, which was huge, and Levante David came back.
Right.
All their pieces that they had essentially really came back.
Brady said we're keeping the house, and they kept the house.
And that's exactly what they needed to do.
Yes.
To make another run. Yeah.
Yes. And it truly is amazing the fact of how Tom Brady has gotten to the point to where he is. He doesn't make money. He lets as much money slip away from him through his contracts that he can, so his players can sign. And really, you look at that, and you wonder, why don't other quarterbacks take that? Like, you can sign for less money to build a better team. It just shows
It's
Brady's
about
commitment.
it's literally it's about his love for the game and his, like you said, his commitment to win. Exactly.
Yeah.
He wants to win.
And he has, and he's proven that the formula works.
If you have to sacrifice money for a Lombardi trophy, I mean that just shows how dedicated
why are you
he
even?
is.
Yeah.
That just shows how dedicated he is. Speaking of which, Eli, how about the Bears? How about the Bears? Okay, but it could have been worse. Allen Robinson could have walked, technically.
He hasn't signed the franchise tag yet.
He has not signed. He received it.
He did.
Has not signed it, so.
And we're trading away Anthony Miller. We're shopping Anthony Miller.
Okay, shopping, but it hasn't, and there's rumblings. Just like Zach Ertz.
Getting rid of receivers, though. So
for the Eagles,
like it's pretty well.
For the Eagles, Zach Ertz has been thrown the name as we have seeked. Which it's nothing new, but he has seeked permission to get a trade. So, just kind of testing the waters. But I just want to hear your thoughts, Eli. Because they have made moves. My team has not made any. So just want to hear your thoughts about it.
Most of the moves we've made are just retaining, like, former players, you know what I mean? We put the tag on Allen Robinson because he's obviously our greatest offensive asset. We re-signed Jermaine Ifedi. He had a decent season with us. He used to play for the Seahawks. Mario Edwards was a really big name that we had to re-sign. He had about 4 sacks this year, played 12 games. Cairo Santos, that's probably my favorite re-signing that we had, just because that's what we need. We needed a kicker, and everything else just fell apart. So I love that we re-signed him. And at first, with Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle, I was very upset. I saw the notification on my phone. I'm like, okay, Russell Wilson.
Typical Bears move.
Yep, exactly. That's all you can say about it. Typical Bears move. But I'm not as mad now because I found out that we actually were pursuing Russell Wilson pretty well, more than any other team, and we were willing to give up a lot. But they just weren't willing to trade him. So I'm curious to see how he'll fit in our system. Personally,
It's just on the fact that you guys made the attempt. At least you made the attempt.
That's why I'm less mad about it now. But in my opinion, I don't think it was a great signing because the Cowboys had a much better offense than we did, and I don't know about the offensive line comparison. It's probably pretty similar, but he had a way better offense and just didn't produce enough.
But and at the same time, just looking at it from afar, I think the Bears may have dropped the ball because it's like Brissett got signed yesterday. Right. Fitzpatrick got signed the day before. It's like if they wanted to go, and who knows if they were trying to make calls to the Seahawks between that time, which would make it really tricky. But it's like if they made the calls to Seattle a long time ago before the free agency even quote unquote started, then they just dropped the ball because you could have signed Fitzpatrick, who has won games at least, and I'd even put Brissett in there, like
for sure.
I mean, because he's been okay.
We don't have the line for a pocket quarterback, so we needed to shop all of those mobile quarterbacks that were still available. But I forgot what I was going to say. Go ahead.
Oh no, you're fine. I mean, you're fine, but it's really interesting.
And going back to the Russell Wilson comment, if the Seahawks are going to keep Russell Wilson, how do you not pursue any offensive lineman?
Yeah, or especially Trent Williams.
Yeah, you didn't pursue anyone. In fact, you lost people during the season. Offensive lineman V.J. Finney, who was with the Seahawks, was cut by the Seahawks, traded, back to the Bengals, who was then cut and signed back with the Steelers. It was reported that when Finney signed with the Seahawks, he came in overweight at the center position, which you can't do that. You got to get yourself in shape. So he was then cut by the Bengals this offseason, and he has signed back with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But for the Seahawks, I don't know how you can't pursue any offensive lineman, especially with the additions to that very competitive NFC West.
Oh, and I mean, I was shocked. I saw a tweet by Pro Football Talk. It's on Twitter. They had reported that the Bears called and had the offer to the Seahawks of, I want to say 2 to 3 first-round picks, 2 offensive starters, and something else. But and like I said, you can check that for yourself. That's what I saw on Pro Football Talk.
Similar like that.
Pro Football Talk on Twitter. So that's a pretty fair offer for the Bears. Like, if I'm in your position, that I would love that. Honestly,
yeah.
I mean, give up.
We are in a position where we need a quarterback to win. We're trying to win. That's all we care about right now. And they show that they obviously don't care and signed Andy Dalton.
I mean, I'm sitting here now. I don't think I've seen a much more curse of the quarterbacks, actually, except for the Browns, than the Bears. And think about it. You a couple years ago, drafted quarterback at 2, does not pan out, has some flashes, does not pan out. I mean, your best quarterback of all time is Jay Cutler.
Yeah, the prior year before Trubisky, we signed Mike Glennon to like a 4-year, $90 million contract, and then draft a quarterback the very next year to replace him, and then we have all this dead money. And Jay Cutler, Smoking Jay, love him. That's probably my favorite Bears quarterback other than Trubisky.
I mean, because even if you look at that 85 Bears team, like, you didn't have a spectacular quarterback.
No.
You had Jim McMahon, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, it's over tradition that, like, I mean, other than, like, the 30s.
They're still chasing that. They're like, we don't need a good quarterback to win games. We've got the defense.
Rex Grossman, baby.
Rex Grossman, yeah.
It's really, really crazy.
No, you hit the nail on the head. We've never drafted a superstar quarterback.
Oh,
yeah,
unfortunate.
Where is Trubisky going to go? I mean, he's still a free agent. Mike Glennon, you can sign Mike Glennon again. You want that train?
No, thank you.
We'll take. I'll take Foles from you.
Go ahead. But reportedly, I've heard San Francisco was interested in Mitch Trubisky along with New Orleans.
Which
Those
makes
are
sense.
The two teams. Yeah, I think he would fit incredibly well in Kyle Shanahan's system.
Right. And if they do sign Trubisky, does that mean that the Patriots continue to pursue after Jimmy Garoppolo?
That is a very interesting
Because
question.
they've put all this money into
That's
Cam
true.
Newton now, and just the factor of getting Jimmy Garoppolo back, I think if I'm Bill Belichick, I think that's what he'll try to do because Cam Newton, he still likes to run more than pass the ball. It's just what his stature is.
So also, whenever we had because last week was spring break for us, so obviously we didn't do the show then. But over that, we had the All-Star game for the NBA, and Bradley Beal actually scored the team high 26 points on the night, which is really interesting. Kevin Durant fell 170 to 152. Team LeBron
And they didn't just fell. They fell hard.
I mean, the All-Star game is the All-Star game. You know, I mean, it really wasn't exciting. The dunk contest was not very good. 3-point contest, there was no competition. Curry took that no problem. And Giannis, I mean, you know, I think in the All-Star game, he was perfect 16 for 16 on the night. But it's like, in the All-Star game, you should do that. Like, if, you know, like...
you got that high, you should do that.
And it's definitely disappointing, but I can't say that it's not expected because of the COVID situation, so we really can't get the ultimate experience from the All-Star game that you usually get every year.
I just wish that sport, like you know, because, I mean, the Pro Bowl was really great back then. The All-Star game was awesome. I mean, the dunk contest was one of the highlights of the whole year in the NBA, and it's like, it was awful. I mean, I'll be honest, it was awful. Yeah. Like, it was just like, you know, guys would just run up the court and just chuck up a three and it'd go in. No coverage. Like, it's just,
That's
no matter
what it was. I mean, to win the game for LeBron's team, Dame literally hit a three-pointer from the line, not the line, excuse me, the half court.
And on this article here, they interviewed Bradley Beal, and I quote, this is what he said about the All-Star game. It felt amazing. It was amazing just to be out on the floor with 20 plus other guys in the league who are phenomenal at what they do. For me to start, that felt great. I was happy about it, and I enjoyed every single moment being out there on the floor. I'm happy we were able to compete and have fun with it. That sounds like to me as I don't want to step on any type of toes answer, and it was a great time.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
But and also on a side note, it was really cool that they I forgot that they renamed the All-Star MVP to the Kobe Bryant MVP award. So kudos.
They take the sum of the points throughout the game, and then don't they add 24 to it?
Yeah.
For
and it's weird. It's like just I'd rather just have a plain.
Like the intentions were great, but at the same time, it's kind of just play the All-Star game.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And that's really what you just want to. I mean, that's preferred in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and it really just shakes your head. It really just makes you shake your head and just wonder, like, you know, how far have we gone to not even have a decent All-Star game? You know, like. But I will give them some credit though. I mean, obviously with not having fans, like, I guess they were kind of limited. But it's just like, you know, come on NBA. It's like you gotta do better. And I say the same thing for the NFL. It's like, you know, the Pro Bowl has been a crapshoot.
Yep.
It's been awful. I haven't even been interested. I mean, the only time that I watched the Pro Bowl seriously, and I really hate to say this, the only time that I even tuned into the Pro Bowl in the past couple of years was it was the day that Kobe Bryant died. That was the only time that I tuned in into the Pro Bowl, and it wasn't even for the Pro Bowl. So
the last Pro Bowl that I watched was when Mitch Trubisky replaced, I believe, Drew Brees or Russell Wilson in the.
Drew Brees,
yeah, he replaced Drew Brees, and I was like, oh, my boy Mitch made the Pro Bowl.
Now, you may not like the Pro Bowl, but I will tell you, it did feel nice. T.J. Watt strip sack for the win in this past year's AFC versus NFC Pro Bowl, and seeing Lamar Jackson march down the field and give T.J. Watt a hug after he ran to the end zone. Like, you don't see that out of Ravens and Steelers quarterbacks.
That's very true.
It's like Joe Flacco would have never gave Troy Polamalu a high five in the same Pro Bowl.
Oh, it was a different time.
Different time. Different. I mean, you just look at the game 10 years ago, and it's a different time then. Well, unless you guys got anything, that's going to wrap it up for us on Sports Cubed.
I got one more thing to say here real quick. Mike Hilton, you signed with the Bengals. Claypool's going to put up 200 on your head.
Ooh.
It's coming.
Woo!
All right, that's gonna wrap us up here on Sports Cube. Thank you for joining us. Follow us on all of our socials, and we'll see you next week.